Guys, welcome back to my channel. I wanted today to talk about some mental health stuff. I am just putting some frankincense on. I love frankincense. I wanted to talk about journaling and how journaling can help you find your anxiety triggers. So I know I've talked about me struggling with anxiety a lot on my channel, and I think it's something, especially this year and right now, that everybody's experiencing to some extent. That just seems to be the year 2020. But I wanted to talk about journaling because there is a lot of power in finding the things that trigger anxiety for you. Triggering mean it starts it, and it kicks it up. It brings it on more intensely, things like that. And for that purpose, journaling, when you find those triggers, can then lead to you being able to be prepared, have the right tools in your toolbox for handling those specific instances that pop up. And it can just give you a lot of advantage over working through those things and navigating those moments. So what I mean by journaling is literally a notebook. It can also be in a Word document on your phone or a laptop or something like that. Any way you have to easily, really quickly write down what was going on. And the moments that I think are the most important are the ones probably immediately following an anxiety attack, a panic attack, a moment of struggling with anxiety, when you start feeling more anxious, thinking back to what was happening right before then, what was going on right in that moment, and writing that down while it's still fresh in your mind, while you can still remember the details, and using that to track what is triggering you, what areas you want to be most prepared for, and when you seem to struggle the most. So it can help you create those patterns where you realize nighttime is the hardest for me. Nighttime is the worst, and it's always these things or these types of things. And so not only tracking what was happening right within that moment, but also what your anxious thoughts are. This helps get it out of your head, and it can kind of help ease your mind in that way because it's not all up in your head. So it can help you release it in that way. But it can also help you trigger or help you focus on what you really are most anxious about, what type of anxiety you're having, and get to the heart of what's going on for you within that. So journaling can help you in so many different facets of a lot of different mental health things, but specifically anxiety, just like with food journaling being really helpful for figuring out what foods are making you feel sick and that your body just does not agree with, and knowing what foods to eliminate. It works the same way for journaling what's triggering your anxiety, what's happening right before that is pushing you over the edge. What are you anxious about when you're anxious? And when is the hardest time? When do those things come to mind the most? And then you can start getting into what habits, patterns, tools in your toolkit would work best, and how you can kind of formulate a plan moving forward. To define your triggers, I don't mean to say that you should then avoid them after. It isn't so much about avoiding, but being prepared, right? So there's a lot of things that trigger our anxiety that we aren't going to be able to get away from. Different situations pop up, life happens, and there's just no possibility of completely getting away from it or avoiding those things altogether. And in most cases, that's not wholly necessary. And to be honest, my personal opinion is, as soon as possible, being able to face those. And as soon as you face them and process it, deal with it, the easier those moments get. And that can look like maybe giving things time. That can look like thinking through and processing things in the form of writing or verbally talking with somebody about it, things like that. It could also be just having tools to deal with those moments, because those are always going to be hard moments. And this can get harder to define, especially with things like generalized anxiety disorder, where it is not always a consistent, specific thing. Or maybe it's a little less defined than that. This is something that I think can be useful in any anxiety situation, but it could look different depending on your situation. So I do want to give that caveat to things. I will say this is something that I kind of feel like I do verbally, where I'm noting things like, oh, that was going on, and that totally pushed me over the edge with my anxiety, whatever it happened to be, or this moment happened, this day happened. Anniversaries of certain things for my brother are huge triggers for me, for very clear reasons. While you can't change it, it's helpful to know, and it's helpful to be prepared and navigate those moments. So that is why I think journaling can be a huge start to really understanding it and navigating the journey that is anxiety. So I hope that was helpful. I hope this encouraged you and gave you some good tips and tools. I love talking mental health, and it felt like it had been a while, so this was really nice to talk about some mental health stuff again. So if you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications on, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!